When you talk about an internet, it is nothing but a group of interconnected computers. They also follow some standard protocol to communicate with each other. That is how it happens in a real life. Even if you wanted to communicate to a group of people, you have to follow certain standards. If you're talking to your friends, you're talking to your colleagues. Based on the group of the computers, they are going to follow certain standards, which is known as a protocol in the market. This protocol, what computers are using to communicate with each other over the internet, is known as TCP/IP protocol, which is called Transmission Control Protocol over Internet Protocol. It could be any of this. Okay? Using this standard protocol, there may be not only 1,000 or 2,000 computers are interacting with each other, but there are millions, billions computers which are communicating in today's time. Okay, because internet has gained a very much popularity, spreading the business across the globe. Sitting into one small room, you can spread your business across the world. That is what the beauty and the advantage of the internet, what we are gaining in. If I'll give you an example of the internet, you can think of the internet as one printer which can be connected to many computers. Okay? When this printer server which is connected, which is nothing but your main computer which is connected to the printer, will be taking a hold of printing every document. So when my main server or printer server is getting the request from the multiple computers, it will pass on to the printer based on the request received on the server. At what time or which computer has initially sent me the request, has first sent me the request, should get a chance to print the document, kind of. Okay? When you talk about the internet, what are the different technology your internet concept is using it? Or I may say that, what web technology based on which your internet is working around. So web technology is mainly using protocol and certain programming language like HTML. Okay? Otherwise your CSS and jQuery is mainly just to respond and to represent the web page in a proper design is what we are going to use. Okay? The web technology is going to implement the client server architecture over internet. Who would be the client? It could be a computer, which means nothing, a system, physical system can act as a client, or we sitting on our personal computer using the browser passing a request to our internet server. So our browser may become our client. Okay, so it could be any client, not necessarily your personal computer. It could be any portable device also. Because nowadays there are many portable devices which can access an internet, like your mobile, your smartphone, your palm top, your tablet, your tabs, anything it could be, which is interacting to your internet server. Okay? When you say they are interacting to each other, they are making use of HTTP protocol, which is known as Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This protocol is designed based on the TCP/IP protocol technology itself. So it is dependent on the TCP/IP communication only. Okay? So when client passes any request, like let's say google.com or www.gmail.com, anything what you pass in as a URL would be considered your request and passed to the internet server using the HTTP protocol. And server identifies the URL. Now how does the server identify this URL? For internet server, every URL is represented with the IP address of its actual server. Okay? So internet you can think of as intermediator in between a client and the websites which are available on the web. So this internet server is going to implement something called as domain name services. This domain name services will transfer your URL to the specific IP address of the server on which your website is running. Okay, let's say for example, think of your internet server as World Wide Web, W3 consortium you are aware of, right? W3ORG, which is implementing this internet technology. So they are the W3.org organization who is taking care of every communication over the internet. Because every website will be running on a separate physical system which is acting as a server. They will be having their own IP address. Okay, we cannot remember an IP address of even 10 server to communicate or to access any website. It is difficult, it is complex. Let's say rather than remembering the google.com or gmail.com, if you have to remember something like 127.129.125.11, that is for one website I am talking about. Imagine how many websites, how many URL you are visiting in a day-to-day life. It is completely a cumbersome task remembering an IP address of every server. So our internet server makes it easier for us, providing something called as domain name services. This domain name services registers on internet server every server IP address with specific URL. Okay, that is called, let's say the IP address as I told you 127.129.125.11 is registered with the name called www.google.com. So the moment users or client pass on the request as google.com, your server will transmit it to IP address and sends the request to the specific IP address, gets the home page of the Google website and sends it as a response to the client. Okay. The other example, not only the Google is one portal what we will be using in a day-to-day life, there are many of it which will be useful portals for us, like your YouTube, Amazon.com, your eBay, your Flipkart, there may be many of it, right? So this website uses the web technology. Okay, when the user logs into this website and clicks on any selected item, suppose, the moment you are connected to the website server, now it's responsibility for the server, for the website server or for the web server, or let's say for the server who is holding the website. It is the responsibility of them to identify what action user is performing, what product, what item user is selecting. Let's say for example, if you click on any hyperlink, let's say you have clicked on the Apple iPhone 4 16 GB black color or something like the product you wanted to select in. The moment you click on this product, your server recognizes what user need as a response. Okay, and then the description, or let's say the complete web page which is defining the specific product along with images, might be some information as a description, some review of the product, rating of the product, there could be many information about the single product will get displayed to you in the form of web page which is written in the HTML scripting language. Okay, it is completely in the HTML scripting language only. This is only the script language using which every website is communicating. Okay. Now, let's understand the internet server. The browser, who is acting as a client, which is sending the request to the server. The request is transmitted on the internet server, and from the internet server it is transmitted to the server which is holding the specific resource. Let's say I will not talk about the website only, let's say specific resource they are holding it. Server, what do you mean by a server? What is terminology itself? It could be in the form of software also. Okay. or we might be pointing to the physical server. It completely depends on our request, our type of request. So server in total or at the rare end of it, it is nothing but the software. If it is a physical server, where these physical servers are being used, obviously to hold or to deploy your huge websites. Okay. Now it's not just deploying the websites on the physical server. Your physical server, which are highly configured computers or system, they will be using certain softwares which will manage the execution of your website. And those software are nothing but called as a server software. Okay? The server is nothing but a software which is receiving the request and passes on to the corresponding program which is running. Let's say my Gmail website is written into Java, or let's say JSP pages, in the form of JSP pages. So this JSP pages might be running on other server software like Apache server, like you might have heard of WebLogic server, WebSphere server. There may be many of it. Okay, I will explain you the differentiation between these servers also. Okay, so the server will pass on your request on to the running application. Okay, let's say for example, we may log into Google server and can select many programs on this server itself, like Google Doc, Gmail, Blogs, Translator, our Picasa web, or our WhatsApp, or any Facebook application. It could be any of it. Okay. So based on our request, the main server will call the corresponding program running on it. Okay. It's completely dependent on the request type. So here it could be, let's say you might be passing, or client might be passing a request or as HTTP, then name of the domain, either Google, Reddit, Yahoo, any of it may be. Okay, and slash exact page which you wanted to see. Let's say I am aware of what is the URL for the web page which is passing me the Google Doc login page. So I can simply passing gtalk login.html. Anything like this, we may pass in as the request, and it goes to the internet server. From internet server, it will be passed on to the server which is running the application, and the application server will be sending response back to you. Okay, obviously this response will be then onwards coming from the server, direct server itself. What are the different type of servers available in the market? As we talked about the software server, they are of two types. One which is called as a web server, other which is called as an application server. Your web server can handle, or I can say they takes the care of HTTP request and sends the HTTP response back to the client. Some of the web servers available in the market, like from Apache Software Foundation, you have a Tomcat server. From Microsoft, you have an IIS server. When you talk about an application server, the application server is an extension of the web server. So, it carries the functionality of a web server plus some additional functionality like load balancing, resource management, state management. Now, what do you mean by this load balancing is all about? When you talk about internet, or let's say we take a specific example of your Google application only. How many clients are logging into the Google application within an hour or within a minute? There may be n number of users across the globe. To handle n number of requests, each physical system has their own limit of accepting the incoming request. That means my Google application might be running on multiple physical systems. Okay? There can be 5 or 500 or 5,000 physical server on which the same application is running, just to share the load. Okay. Now, let's say server 1 is handling my request, the physical system I am talking about. Due to certain reason, let's say for a network issue, or might be because of the memory issue, or might be because of power failure issue, due to some physical reason, my server has gone down. And my request, I'm yet interacting to the application. The moment my server is down, do you think that my request should go unattended and server should respond me the error message as due to the network failure your server has gone down, so your request will not be processed. Try later, after an hour, after 1 day, or after 1 week. Would that be an efficient application on the internet? No. None of the organizations can accept such kind of situations happens in the market. So what we do is, we install the same application on a multiple physical system and will be using the software application like an application server, which is going to manage the request, which is an unhandled request, or maybe handle at the half of it, will be passed on to other physical system when it goes down. So that is something called load balancing. Okay. Apart from that, it also takes care of resource management. Resource in terms of, let's say we are sending many attachments to our email IDs. How these attachments are getting managed, at which server they are available, when to destroy any attachment, when not to destroy any attachment, when to transfer attachment to the Google Drive or let's say any specific storage, is all taken care by our application server, which is in the form of software. And these web server application servers are developed using the programming language like Java and .NET. Okay. When you talk about the application servers available in the market are JBoss, WebLogic, WebSphere, Oracle application server, Glassfish. You have many other application servers available from different vendors, from different organizations. Now let's talk about the HTTP itself, which is acting as a protocol. The HTTP protocol is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. The default port number, or I can say the standard port number what HTTP reserves on your computer is 80. Apart from this HTTP protocol, we may implement the HTTP protocol in secured layer or into secured manner also. That is, using our programming language only we can implement. Okay? So HTTPS is nothing but the HTTP protocol plus implementing the secured layer of the application access. So if the client or let's say the browser uses this protocol, then the data coming from the client will be encrypted so that no one else in between can read the data, can retrieve the data and can transmit that. Okay, so the data when we are using HTTPS protocol will be encrypted and sent over an internet to the server. Now server, at the server side, data will get decrypted and then the same data will be used to process the client request. And the response will be again encrypted to send back to the client. Okay, if it is secure data or sensitive data, I may say. When you say the HTTP protocol, it is sending your data, means client data, to the server using different methods. What those methods would be? Like get method, head method, post method, delete method, put, trace and connect method. There may be many different ways of sending data to the server. Okay? So these are the different methods what your HTTP protocol supports. All these methods are not actually reading your input. Let's say if I talk about the login page on Gmail, where you are providing your username and password credentials. This credentials data will be considered as a form data. Okay? And this form data will be sent to the server using two specific methods called get or post. Other methods are needed for sending the data specific to the request. So they might be transferring the header information like what my client is using as a software. Is he or she using the Mozilla Firefox or Internet Explorer or Google Chrome or Opera? What type of agent, which is browser agent, he or she is using it? This is one kind of information which is a part of our header section. Will be sent using the head HTTP method. Okay? So we will be dealing mostly with two methods, that is get and the post, using HTML programming. The head, delete, put, trace, connect. These are the different HTTP methods which will be used by the programming languages like Java and the .NET application who is developing their web application or website by different technology and might wanted to render the response based on the type of the browser. It could be. Okay. So get and the post are the two frequently used method or mostly used method to transfer our form data to the server. Okay. So let us talk about this two method what we are going to use into our HTML programming. When you say a get method will simply read in your form data and add this data, means append, not actually add. It appends your data in the form of parameter as a part of URL. Okay, so they will read your username, password, append this data to the URL. So if someone else is standing near to you or sitting along with you, can see your data what you have passed as the credential. Okay, so it is completely visible. So it is not a secure way of passing the sensitive data to the server. So we have the other option in a hand, that is post method. Whenever we are developing any web page which takes the data, which are sensitive data as an input, will be sent to the server using the post method. How does your post method will send this data to the server? The data will be encrypted. So if it is encrypted, no one can see that. And this data would not be appended to the URL. They will be sent as the part of request body which is completely invisible. Okay? Other difference between get and the post method is your get HTTP request method is transmitting the text information. It cannot transfer any huge data or any big size data like any graph, any image, any picture which are coming in the form of BLOB, binary large object. Okay, which is known as binary large object. which may be a graph, which may be a picture. Okay, this data need to be sent using a post method only. Okay, now other difference between get and the post method is your get method, because it is less secure way of transferring the data, we may not use it with the sensitive data web page. Okay, get method also stores its history to the browser. Okay, so post method is much secure way of communicating these sensitive data to the server, as it is not storing the history into the browser. We are going to use these two methods into our HTML form. When we will create our HTML form, we are going to use these two methods. How you write this get and the post method in the HTML page would be something like this. Okay, when you are creating the HTML form, you will be specifying the method as an attribute, passing the type of a method my HTML form should be using to transfer the data. Okay, here is how you write the post method. So let me starting with the HTML itself. We will be writing in the HTML language, which could be known as hypertext markup language. The characteristics would be, it is mainly used for describing the content, and it can also be used to structure my web document or web page. It is nothing but a collection of predefined tags, okay, which is provided by W3 organization. This was designed based on the SGML language, which is Standard Generalized Markup Language. The different versions what has been introduced till today about the HTML are something like this, starting from 1.0, 3.0, 4.0, and nowadays XHTML is preferred language for developing the web page because of its portability. Okay, if you are using the HTML programming only, your HTML language develops the web page which are not accessible using any portable device. Okay, so we might wanted to implement the portability of accessing the same web page into different devices. That we can implement using XML. Okay, other language is also available in the market, something called WML, which is wireless markup language we can use here. Okay, what tools we can use to write our HTML programming? It could be any simple text editor. Apart from this, if you are interested to use any other software programs which can enable us creating this document in a different format, like Word format, Acrobat PDF format. All these applications are including the tools to convert your document into HTML for quick and easy publishing on the web. Apart from this, you can make use of Microsoft Office front page, which is now not available, but till 2003 it was available. From 2007 onwards it has been removed. Yeah, otherwise that was the really good application which can help you develop your HTML page, okay, by viewing its preview as well. Okay. How you enter the content on the HTML web page, the structure we should be following it. So every tag will be having its a start tag and end tag. There are some exception cases also which we will discuss in, but general syntax for writing anything on the HTML page will be, you should be writing the start tag and end tag along with certain content in between. So let's say for example, if I wanted to display something in the form of paragraph manner, I may be writing it into the start and the close tag of P. So P, which is mainly designed for the purpose of paragraph representation of the content. Okay. We can add some additional attribute to our elements. Okay, like we may write in the attribute and its value. Let's say for example, paragraph should have an alignment of left side, center side or the right side. Okay? So those are the attribute which defines the specific behavior of the content. Okay. So what would be the structure for my HTML file? Starting from the HTML, which is my root element, or I can consider it as a document element. We'll have a header element into it. So header element is mainly to design the header information. So header information is nothing about, but it is giving you the information about the web page, what my web page is going to carry, what type of content it can display or it can render on the browser, what kind of browser it supports, it do not support. So other information specific towards the document and not the content of the document. Okay. Body element which we use to write in the content, actual content of our web page. Okay. HTML, you may think of it just like a sandwich. Okay. So what it would be doing it? It would be collecting everything in between your HTML root element, and inside the same we will be having the body element which is displaying your content. Okay.